Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the North Yorkshire spa town spring water, Chopper Harris's promotion wannabes channel their inner lockdown legend and deliver a massive banana skin slip-up. A stinker of an opening 20 minutes saw United flirting with another 5-4, but in the end, we didn't ever look like grabbing 2 more goals, let alone 4, as United's 14-game unbeaten run comes to an end at the Football League's basement club. Hello, and a very warm welcome to a sobering Under the Abbey stand. My name is Jordan Warland, and for the first time in weeks and weeks and months, we have a defeat to talk about. I have a panel to help me, an expert panel, fresh from their visit to North Yorkshire. Matthew Caspell, losing at Harrogate means that we're going to get automatic promotion, right?
Yeah, sure, why not?
What happened before? That's what happened before.
That's exactly how football works as well.
Exactly, yeah.
It's quite boring, actually. Yeah, now we've lost at Harrogate. That means we'll get promoted next game, right?
Good stuff. Completing the panel. Good evening, Tom Walker. How are you doing?
Yeah, marvellous. Death, taxes, Harrogate away. It's like a warm bath. It's very comforting.
Tom, if I could offer you one of the following, which would you pick? A pot of tea from a North Yorkshire tea room or a skepasti from number 1 Ferry Path? Think wisely.
Don't ask me stupid questions, George. You know it's going to be the skepasti all day long.
The world famous skepasti. Get it in there early. That's where the pod peaks. Get yourselves to the Old Spring, our sponsors this year. Right then, God, how do we do this? How do we pod about losing? Kind of forgotten how to do this. I'm going to come to you first, Matt Caspell, and ask you, what is in the water in Harrogate that brings out the worst in us?
There was plenty of water, which is good, in bountiful supply in Harrogate. My trainers are wrecked to walk across the most inexplicably narrow pathway across a massive field after the game and just trudge in the mud, basically. I mean, the whole day was just rotten from start to finish. Even in the week, the trains were like total mess. So me and Walks, God help us, I had to leave the house at 5:20 in the morning to get to the game. The trains, my total
20 minutes in, you're like, this was well worth it.
Honestly, my outlay on rail fare alone, I think is £165 to get from Woking to Harrogate. Crazy that the train duration of the journey was nearly 5 hours. So twice the usual duration of journey and twice the normal cost. And you just see it coming a mile off, like after what happened last time at Harrogate. You're just like, I've just got a terrible feeling about all of this. Look, I mean, we'll get onto it later in the pod, but the run has been fantastic, right? The expectations have gone through the roof. I wasn't, if you're honest, you're not realistically expecting this to be the game where it all comes undone. But we've gone like a third of the season there unbeaten. Amazing winning run. And we still put ourselves in a really good place for the rest of the season. So it's literally like just a blip, just a bad day.
Do you want the swindle question? Do you want the swindle question now?
Hit me with the swindle question.
Do you want the one that pushes you in front of the bus to get mocked from? Is there a world where this is a good win? Losing, get the loss in there, get the chance to regroup, bounce back. It's against bottom of the league team. Throw in the stinker now, so it's not in a couple of weeks' time when it's MK Dons at home or one of those big games.
I thought of Swindle. Yeah, I was relieved for Swindle when the full-time whistle went. I thought, thank God, it's good for him. We've lost a game now. The monkey's off our back. Look, there's logic. If you're going to lose a game, lose it to someone who's definitely not a rival, and Harrogate is definitely that. Don't do it during that, as you say, that run of really important games that starts the end of February. So, I don't know. We're just trying to tease any positive out of this situation, right? It was a pretty honking afternoon. We just need to... it's all about what we do on Tuesday against Crawley. Like, how are we going to respond? How do we bounce back? How much character are we going to show again? That they've got a huge amount of credit in the bank. So one bad afternoon, it certainly was a bad afternoon, isn't going to define our season, just the way that like some of the wins in the last few weeks also won't define our season.
Tom, other than having a bit of a sore throat, how are you feeling 24 hours or so on?
Pretty disappointed, to be honest. Yeah, I think I do find it very hard to get on board with the idea that it's a good thing, by the way, just to weigh in on that. Yeah. just got a short-changed, really. I think Caspell obviously mentioned about a lot of the logistics, maybe setting us up for a bit of failure. But I just thought, like, from when even like the team sheet comes out, you feel like there's been a lot of poor decision making at points, confusing decision making, I think. And you don't want to bang on about like numbers and support all the time, but I do think when you know basically sell out and away into Harrogate, and you go to a team who are bottom of the league, and Caspell's made the point about maybe expectations have risen, but let's be frank, even if expectations weren't as high as they are, you would still quite reasonably expect to go and get a result somewhere like Harrogate, fairly comfortably, to be honest with you. And I just feel on the balance of the performance that we put in, just a little bit shortchanged, really. And I know that obviously it does come on the end of a brilliant run, and obviously if we go and lose probably like one in our next 15, then probably we'll find ourselves at the thick end of an automatic promotion race, which is kind of what obviously what we all want. So it's all fine. Like, on the balance of things, there's probably no reason to kind of lose our heads too much. But I think that if you take away all the sort of like tongue-in-cheek stuff out, or Harrogate away, like we're always going to go there and lose sort of thing. Like, we have gone to a team who are bottom of the league who hadn't won in 21 games. We've gone there on the back of six straight wins, 14 unbeaten, and put in an absolute howler of a performance, really. I thought, just across the pitch. We looked to be a little bit better in the second half. Yeah, we looked more likely to go on and get the equaliser maybe than Harrogate to sort of extend the lead. But, at that point, it's the team that are bottom of the league bedded in for fighting for their lives, really. And we should just be better, to be honest with you. So yeah, really disappointed, and this to me just felt like such an opportunity, really. Like, go and really lay down a bit of a marker. I know there's been some good results sort of throughout this run. Obviously, Oldham away is probably the best example of it, but you're playing bottom of the league. Go and show that you're better, and we just weren't, really. So yeah, really disappointed. I mean, again, like, I think the way that League Two is that these results do come up, and we said it earlier on in the season, like, you try not to get too carried away with the good results, you try not to get too carried away with the bad results. But yeah, just felt so deflated, like so disappointed, really, with just not showing up, really, for me. There's been a lot of chat around standards, been a lot of chat around the levels and stuff like that, and yeah, absolutely nowhere near good enough, really, at all.
Caspell, Tom mentions sort of some of the better performances over the last 14 games. We had a question come in from Simon, essentially along the lines of, we've had a couple of perhaps warning signs in recent weeks. The Shrewsbury game, the Tranmere game, for example, sticking to mind. Is that, I don't know, did it feel like Saturday's performance at Harrogate was perhaps on the cards given what we'd seen in recent weeks, or was that excellent Oldham performance, did it make you think, oh, actually we've turned a bit of a corner here, and we've ridden that sort of rocky patch, as it were, and we found a better bit of form?
Yeah, I understand the question from Simon, to be fair. I just wonder if maybe we're reading a bit too much into it, though, in the sense that even a really strong team in the division is not going to have like patches of games that, there are going to be moments in games that are running against us, or certainly under Neil Harris, moments in games where it feels like there's barely any oxygen in the room, if you know what I mean. Like, the games are just like pretty stiflingly not entertaining to watch. I think this is different. Like, Shrews and Tranmere, yeah, I understand it. Like, whole game against Shrews was a bit of a struggle, a bit of a schlep, basically. First half against Tranmere was the same. But I think critically, both those games, we were not giving away opportunities, right? We were not like, it was all pretty tight. Like, I can live with a half of football, or even 70, 80 minutes of football where we've done a complete containment job on the opposition. And then we've got the goals. I'll say no, Tram is a little bit different, but it's like, I think a lot of what we've seen the last, during this run has been that the harder moments during the run have still been us kind of being fairly in control. And I think the big difference for me in that first 25 minutes or so against Harrogate is that it felt completely out of our control what was happening. I felt like the entire pace and direction of the game was just dictated to us completely for 25 minutes. it was a complete role reversal, right? I mean, I would say first 25 minutes, we looked like the team who hadn't won in 21 games. We looked like the team with a terrible goal scoring record, that hadn't won a game in 180 days or whatever it was. And
some of the numbers on this pod have been great so far.
It's pretty. I mean, look, again, they've raised the bar on expectations massively, right? We've built a bit of a rod for our own back, so it is to Neil Harris and the players' credit that after a 14-game unbeaten run that spanned all the way back to November or whatever it was, October even, now the level of disappointment is so high.
Did it feel like those earlier away games in the season, Caspell?
Yeah.
Those games before you saw your first away win of the season?
It took me a while. It did take me a while. Yeah, it did have a bit of that feeling. I mean, again, though, I feel like even in those earlier in the season games, we exerting more control defensively. I think Harrogate just started the game on a total different level to us, like appetite, basically. Their work rate was extremely high. I think the one thing from Simon's question I can get on board with definitely is I think that Shrewsbury game in particular, I think teams are watching back that footage of what Shrewsbury did against us. And they're seeing there a bit of a blueprint of like, right, this is like the method. This is how you play against the Cambridge United team. It's 10 men behind the ball. Don't worry about conceding possession. Give the ball, frankly, to them in their own half and just sit deep and make it incredibly difficult to be broken down. And I do think, Harris and co have done really well all season solving these challenges and like coming up with creativity and finding ways to win football matches. He's got to go back to the well and do it again, I would say, because you can guarantee on Tuesday Crawley will be looking at everything there. Same thing that Shrewsbury game and the Harrogate game had in common is they just put a really high press on us. Like, we did not deal well at all with the intensity of that first 20 minutes of the football match. I know we'll come on to personnel, but I'm not convinced by either the shape nor the personnel that was in it specifically in that moment, I would say. And I think all of that, I think we just really brought it upon ourselves. And unfortunately, once you've conceded 2 goals, despite it being a famously dangerous scoreline, once it's 2-0, 25 minutes or whatever, we made it exceptionally difficult for ourselves in really hard conditions, in a sort of horrible, drizzly, windy, pretty sort of minging day. It's not, it's never good to be 2-0 down, but in those conditions, it was all pretty difficult.
Tomo, earlier you mentioned the team sheet. I'm keen to expand on that because the formation and the tactics and the approach on Saturday surprised quite a few people. The commentary in those first sort of 20, 25 minutes was quite scathing towards it. But yeah, I want your thoughts on switching to the back 4, getting rid of the wing backs. Why do you think he's done that change? And are you disappointed to see the fact that Neil Harris has changed our shape to match Harrogate, if that was even his thinking, and disappointed that he sort of changed a formula that's been so fruitful over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I'll be disappointed if it's anything to do with matching up Harrogate, to be honest. I'd be very disappointed if that was the sort of main line of thinking, just because at the most basic level, the players that we've got available to us should always be better than the players that Harrogate have got available to them, really. So you really want to think about yourself first, and it's a game where really we should be in control and we should be running things. I found it quite bizarre, to be honest. I think there's a couple of things in there that are also weird and optically don't really add up to me. One of them is about apparently the decision not to add another player and basically another forward at the end of the window, because we think that Glenn McConnell's got something that he can bring to the team. He's not even in the squad. We sign a centre half on deadline day and then start playing with 4 at the back instead of 3. Or sorry, 2 central defenders rather than 3, I should say. I find that very weird. I find really changing the shape of things after such a good run doesn't really make sense, to be honest. I know it's the old-fashioned cliche, but it is also kind of true. Like why change a winning team? or why change it so much? The other parts I think are more obvious, like Don Ball, Pelly Ruddock in centre mid. We just don't need to see that again. I think we pretty categorically put to bed the idea that those two players are going to be a successful midfield pairing for us, because we've seen it time and time and time again that look, on paper that's probably the way that the squad was built, and that's probably what we had in mind when we're putting things together in the summer. But in practice, it's just not working. It's not working at all, and I find it strange that basically the pair that has basically been at the centre of this run is George Hoddle and Pelly Ruddock, and I just think that's like a non-negotiable in that team. I think at the moment for me, maybe you bring McLaughlin in if Hoddle's a bit tired, but I just don't really see it with Don Ball. I don't see it. I just don't quite get it. Like I think he's a decent player. I think in stops and starts he's come in and done well for us at times. But that's a selection I find very strange, to be honest. And I mean, in hindsight, you maybe would argue that Nevitt was a more effective centre forward than Apre was in that game. I get that you're never going to drop Apre after Oldham. I understand that, but maybe find a way to work them both in. I don't know, but basically, there was a lot of stuff that just didn't quite add up for me. And I think, look, the effect of it, I think all in all, and look, these players aren't totally unfamiliar from each other, but the actual effect of changing things up was that we didn't really look like we knew what we were supposed to be doing for the first bit of the game, and it took us a while to grow into it. I'm not saying that's necessarily a direct result of changing the team, because I think within that there's a lot of poor individual performances, but yeah, for me, we've got a system that works. We've got personnel that have been pretty consistent really over the last sort of 2 or 3 months. And if we've changed it to try and match up with Harrogate, then I'd find that very, very, very disappointing. And a really bad time, to be honest.
Yeah, why do you think he changed it? Do you think he thinks it's more offensive having those two there, and we're going away to the bottom of the table and we need to take the game to them? Because it just doesn't match up when with what we're seeing. And Steve on our Substack match chat made a really great term for what we are when we play Pelly Ruddock and Don Ball as the central midfielders. He refers to us as the donut formation, which is basically we play it along the back and then we pump it long from like sort of a wide position, and it's just a big hole in the middle, like a donut. You're enjoying that, Caspell? It's a good.
It's made me laugh. Yeah, well done, Steve.
The guy that's done his badges is like, I see it. Yeah, the fence.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that?
I mean, I'll echo a lot what Tom said. Obviously, we're together when the team sheet came out, albeit I seem to be incapable of reading that team sheet, if Walker remembers. Gave me the wrong squad about 5 times in a row. Took me forever to figure out what the hell was going on. So, maybe we should have spent more time in the tea rooms and less time in the pub. It's too reductive, all of it in my head. Even the stuff I was saying after the game, it's just too reactionary and reductive in terms of like this personnel issue, I guess. But Tom is right. Like it's a big, for me, failed experiment that we persisted with for too long already this season in like August, September, October time. And it took really the injuries, frankly, to sort of break it apart and force a bit of a change in the system and the setup. And obviously Harris deserves a lot of credit for the way they reacted to that, for giving Hoddle a chance, giving McConnell a chance when he did, finding some solutions. All of that has been really positive, and it's kind of underwritten and pushed us into this run where the huge question we were having in September, October time was like, well, just like, where is the creativity and where are the goals going to come from? And you look at Don Ball's CV and you're like, look, this guy's got great credentials. He's played hundreds of Football League games in the SPL as well. Look at Ruddock's CV and the same thing. He's gone all the way through the divisions with Luton and achieved a huge amount in his career already. But there's just some incompatibility between the two of them. I don't know if it's they're trying to kind of do the same job or occupy the same area of the pitch. One thing I know for sure is between them, they're not fast enough. And I don't think you can pair them together. I just think Harrogate were quicker, frankly, and just were coming through that central midfield area so much that, we can just end that experiment now. I just don't need to see the two of them next to each other again. I also just think, back to Tom's point he made at the top, when you're traveling to a bottom of the league team that's bang out of form, really it's like you need to be putting it on them, like make them worry about what you're doing in the football match. Don't worry about, a double pivot at a team in that form, I think is pretty negative. I think the only thing I can say that, to sort of make sense of where it's come from is in his cameos in the last few weeks as he's been coming back to fitness, Don Ball has looked quite dynamic. He has actually been moving the ball forward a bit quicker. Like, I think he's had really good impact coming off the bench in some of these games in the last few weeks, to be fair to him. So perhaps the logic there was, look, Ball is back in fitness and he has 90 minutes, or, he has a start in him. Let's see if he can, he's got the credentials. Let's see if he can dictate the play and, pick the ball up deep and sort of quarterback and let Pelly be a bit more box to box. Obviously, it's not worked that way. I think the other credit I'll give to Harris is that they did. I mean, I know we're 2-0 down and a lot of damage is done at this point, but it did feel like even after 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we made that adjustment. It felt like he pushed Pelly on forward, and sort of, to be fair to them, I think they acknowledged pretty quick that it wasn't quite working and they need to make a change. Appreciate being 2-0 down is going to help crystallize that decision making. But yeah, I really don't know what it is, but I hope it's a learning experience and we work out what we do next quite quickly.
Tom, are we missing out on a little bit of sort of perspective and context here, which is that credit to Harrogate? Caspell's hinted at it. Neil Harris talked about it post-match on the Tuesday night before. It took Swindon 80 minutes to get on the score sheet, and that came via a penalty. The way Harrogate played, the way they pressed us, how aggressive they were. Is there an argument to say that actually a lot of, other teams in the league would struggle against the Saturday's version of Harrogate that we played with? Is it fair that we sort of add that into the mixer as well? Because, they didn't feel like we were playing a team that's lost the last 10 home games in a row, which I believe is the stat.
No, I think like you are absolutely right, and it is definitely a good point to make. Like, clearly there's two teams on the pitch, right? And we're obviously going to focus on one for obvious reasons, but they were good. They were good. Obviously, really at us, really in our faces, particularly in that first period, and then just pretty resolute, really, I think, in the second half. And yeah, like a bit of perspective is probably needed on that. But I would say that, it's not just because we played poorly that they won the game. Like, they did play well, but I just think like we have to look at ourselves really on this one, and really have to look internally rather than being like, well, we couldn't have done anything there because Harrogate really turned up, which they did. But with respect, that's a lot of factors within our control that we weren't in control of, if that makes sense, or didn't go for us. So there's all of that, and Harrogate, on the day, the deserved winners, and it's definitely the right result. But I'll also chuck in the perspective that they are rock bottom of the football league. They are.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Like usually I would chuck in the sort of with respect sort of stuff, but they are terrible. They are rubbish, and we went there and we stunk the place out, and that's why we've lost the football match ultimately.
Wasn't their reserve team again, was it? Let's talk about the match action. Tomo, sticking with you, it didn't look great conditions-wise on TV. How did it feel in the stadium? How was the pitch holding up? Do you think that had any impact on how we played and who sort of played the conditions better? And it looked like your Brophies and your Kaikais who like to run with the ball and keep control of it and dribble weren't faring particularly well with the conditions.
It felt very non-league. It felt very, very conference, to be honest, in that ground. I'll say that, right at the start. And probably will be quite soon as well, I suppose. I think, I'm kind of thinking I don't really want to get dragged into too much talking about the conditions. I think we should be above that, really. I think we're a better side than that to be like, well, it's rain, so playing to Harrogate's favour a little bit. We just struggled to cope. Like we just struggled to get to grips with the game from the very beginning, just in every aspect, really. I don't necessarily think it's a conditions thing. I mean, it certainly added to the sort of the kind of I'm trying to think of the right word. Kind of added to it a little bit. It's Harrogate away in the pissing wet rain. Of course, we're going to lose because they've not won since September and we've not lost since October, all that sort of stuff. But beyond that, I'm not sure we can really speak about the conditions having too much of an impact on things because, I'd like to think our standards are set slightly higher than that.
The first goal then, Caspell. Great hit from the lad. Although I did read some people claiming a deflection, so I'm keen to know your thoughts on that. I thought it was a sweet hit and it went straight in, but didn't cover ourselves in glory in the build-up. What's your take on this one?
Well, firstly, I'll say the away end, quite impressive to find a stand. We have a worse view than in the Newmarket Road end. I thought we were the title winners of that. So everything I'll say is caveated by that. It was, I couldn't see the goal itself really. So as in the actual goal mouth. Don't know about deflection. We didn't defend it very well. It's on the polite side, I think. It looks like Bennett and Job get themselves a bit tangled up. I'm not sure Job has any business traveling that far out of the centre back position to try and deal with the situation. And I'm pretty confident if you're that far out of place, you've got to win. You need to win the ball, win the contact, or you need to give a foul away. Like the play has to kind of stop. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't. They get themselves a bit tangled up. Ball comes across. It's a hell of a finish from your lad. There's no saving that. Like, give him credit. The finish is really good. He's absolutely walloped it. I just think we didn't cover ourselves in glory in the defensive moments. The finish is great. Like, there's not a lot you're actually going to do with the goal itself.
Sticking with not covering ourselves in glory in the defensive areas, Tom. Second goal, go 2-0 behind. We've discussed the formation already, but was this just a good example of that 4-2-3 not working?
This is your donut. This is Steve's donut theory, the second goal.
Well, but also sort of out wide. Like, is it Brophy that's sort of miles away from the guy that ends up scoring? Like, give me your thoughts on this one, Tom.
Yeah, I think if you look at both goals, this is one that maybe does feel a little bit more like it's kind of a result of changing the shape. I think maybe not getting to grips with it, just purely because the amount of space that the guy's got on the left hand side. It's like there's no one near him when he picks up the ball, and again he travels far, and it is like another good finish, to be fair. So take nothing away from him from that. But yeah, I think from our perspective, you'd probably want, I guess maybe it is Brophy, I suppose, because it's winger for winger, maybe.
I think Pelly's around it as well. If you watch that video, Pelly just jogs in the entirety of the video. Pelly's jogging, and the whole play just sort of comes right through the centre midfield area. And I'm like, Pell, you should probably be sprinting here, mate. Like the whole ball has just travelled. The guy's gone all the way through. No real contact from anyone. It's pretty spineless, midfield play. Let's put it on the whole unit. Pretty spineless midfield play all around. Way too easy for them to make the progress from sort of halfway line to the edge of our box. And after that, the guy's done really well with the finish. So fair play to him.
What were you thinking at that point, Tom, when it went 2-0?
So exactly what I was thinking.
Be honest.
Half-time, pint time.
25 minutes into the game, off he goes.
I'm like,
hang about, we might do something there.
So we hit the bar. Caspell, talk to me about it. Did you see that bit?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. They very very kindly put a telly in the concourse, so we did see it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was that. But yeah, I saw that.
So yeah, took what 20-25 minutes to wake up or so. Caspell start having a bit better of possession around their box. A few openings. Big one comes from the corner, and Job hits the bar. Should be a goal, this one, mate.
Yeah, I said it at the time, to be fair. We're down the other end. I just turned to friend of the pod, Tom Shaw, and said, that's going to look horrific on the highlights when you watch it back, because I've just got a sneaky feeling he was in the 6-yard box. I said it before we started recording. It's one of those where you'll get that absolute nonsense out of commentators, and they're like, oh, he's headed it too well into the ground. And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Headed the goal.
Yeah, why don't you think about heading it in the goal itself? Yeah, that massive thing in front of you. Look, I mean, again, I'm trying to just do a swindle. It's manifest positivity. It's a great cross. Job does really well. Like, it is a good header. It's just not a good enough header. It's a bit of a shame. Look, if he scores there, the thing is, like, because we go on and score so soon afterwards, it's not even like you can rewrite history and say, look, if Job scores there, we'll probably come back and pull level, because we kind of proved that we were not capable of doing that by not scoring for 65 minutes or whatever after pulling a goal back. So that weirdly, like, even worse than going 2-0 down, arguably that's more disappointing and concerning, is that we went a 65-minute period of football match without having a shot on target in the second half, without really looking like we were going to, we were back on the train after the game an hour later, and I was like, look, the game could still be going on now, and we would not have got that breakthrough. So
I completely agree, mate. It's as much as a travesty or a stinker as those opening 20-25 minutes were. The big issue for me is the following 60-70 minutes, where, I mean, obviously we get the one goal back, but the 70 minutes after getting that one goal, you need to find one more goal against bottom of the league to salvage a point. And we're not even close. Keeper's not had to make a save second half, which we'll come on to in a bit. But yeah, that's the real concerning point for me. And that's, I feel like, is the area that we need to be reflecting on and cynical on. It's not so much the opening 20-25 minutes, which were an absolute car crash. But yeah, the fact that the rest of the game, which we dominated possession and dominated the ball, just didn't have any moments where you feel like, oh, we've got them really under the cosh here, really under pressure, the goal is coming. But we'll get to that in a sec, because we should probably talk about the fact that we did score a goal, a rare Liam Bennett goal. How did it look from the concourse, Tom?
Yeah, marvellous.
Sweet.
You had a better idea what was going on than I did, probably.
Yeah. We were also notified, because I think we're about a minute behind as well, which is quite a kind of weird thing. So, something's happened here. I was like, right, this is either going to be really bad, or we're going to set up a bit of a good second, a bit of a sort of grandstand second half. Yeah, really good stuff. I mean, I guess, like, having said everything that we've said about the change of formation and how it maybe impacted certain players' games, like the fact that Liam Bennett's still finding himself in the box is obviously a good thing. It's a good finish. He's taken it really well. It's a bit confusing a lot on the highlights, because it's like exactly the same shot twice, but obviously your man gets in the way for the first one, because can't quite get there for the second. But yeah, obviously really good stuff. I mean, I guess it maybe typifies our afternoon in a way that, for all of the huff and puff and running around, it's only really Liam Bennett that's done anything of note in their box all afternoon. But yeah, it's a good finish. Like, I don't want to turn I guess it's kind of like, well, I suppose it is a positive, isn't it? Like, getting yourself back in the game. I don't want to turn it, into too much of a negative straight away, but like, it's so infuriating that from that, basically giving yourself that opportunity, just didn't even look anything close to making the most of it, or anything close to sort of really turning it around.
We should have been battering. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not an understatement to say, having scored in the 29th minute, that next 15 minutes of football should be like a siege. Do you know what I mean? It should be should just be one-way traffic, like us completely laying it on them, using the momentum and just tipping over a team that's got fragile confidence. They're talking about one of the sat there manager, complete discord, haven't won a game in 180 days. That's 6 months. Like,
lost 10 in a row at home.
The numbers are not good. So this is the big disappointment, is like, you've got 1,000 away fans. It's a long journey, particularly for me, long journey, expensive journey, full on day out, 19 hours out of the house. You just want to be entertained, you want to see that moment where it's like, oh, you go and win a corner straight after that, and you're like, you're heaving pressure on this team, because it just felt like if we'd put a 10 or 15 minute spell together, could have scored 2, 3, 4 even goals, like, if you really start to get things working. So I think it's the disappointment.
What it sounds like is, you see Liam Bennett's goal go in and you think, setbacks don't define you, comebacks do. That's what it feels like.
Someone's got motivational posters going. Yeah.
You're not getting the reference, are you? Go look at Liam Bennett's Instagram after this.
Oh, right. Okay. Lovely stuff, mate.
That's absolutely flown over both of us there, Caspell.
You'll thank me later. I can't wait. So halftime rocks up 2-1. Wasn't surprised that Neil Harris rings the changes. I was surprised with the formation though. It went 4-4-2. Brophy and Gibbo go off. Parrington and Lavery come on. Talk me through your thought at the time, Tom. Did you think it was a good idea, a good move, and ultimately at full time were you still thinking that?
It's literally the only thing you can really do, though. I think it would have been really, really strange if we'd not brought on another centre forward at that point. Obviously, the Parrington one, like, I get it. Like, he's actually done quite well coming on, hasn't he, in sort of recent games, I think. Obviously, particularly against Shrewsbury. Obviously, comes on and wins the penalty. So fair enough there. But, yeah. I think maybe the only surprise was that it wasn't Apre who was hooked as well, maybe for Nevitt coming on as well at that point. For me, because like, we were always going to have to go with two strikers up front. Like, again, like even just like the optics of it, imagine coming out at half-time 2-1. Like, you need a goal against Harrogate and you've got two strikers sat on the bench instead of being on the pitch. That'd have been quite a strange thing to see, I think. But yeah, and at that point, it really should have started to get better, I think. But
that's not an awful lot in terms of chances or match action in the second half to call out, really, because weren't really peppering the goal. And I mean, obviously there was the Lavery header that dropped just wide. I think Lavery had one of the last touches of the game, looped over the bar, was closer than you think. The real big chance was to Nevitt late on. Caspell, talk me through how that looked from your vantage point in the away end. Surely you had a good angle of that, right?
I had quite a good angle on that one because I was sort of level with him. No, I mean, don't reduce it down. I thought Nevitt made a decent impact when he came on. He was winning a lot of headers. I think he won 6 of his 9 aerial duels. We were screaming for more diagonals, just keep hitting him. I think we probably, I don't know, we were guilty of maybe overplaying it a bit in the last 5 or 10 minutes when it was very clear, like, look, just pile it on Nevitt's head. He's winning tons up there. Just see what, it's almost like chaos. Just see what you can do by just continuously blasting the ball into the box. And seeing his plan A of playing it around isn't working. It's not good from Nevitt. I mean, it's not good from any of them, right? Nevitt's one of the only. We've had no shots on target in the second half, so it doesn't reflect well on any of the personnel. I feel a bit sorry for Apre. I mean, it wasn't a good performance, and the numbers weren't good, and the eye test also wasn't good. But again, like we're talking,
what numbers you got? What numbers you got, Caspell?
Well, 1 touch in the opposition box. Lavery had 7 in the half, for example, for context.
Yeah,
I mean, Bennett had at least 2 because he had 2 shots. So not great in that sense. No successful dribbles. That's not good. So not a lot actually going well for him. But what's he supposed to do? He's up there on his own. Like, again, we were talking earlier about failed experiments like Ball and Panzu next to each other. Like, Apre on his own with no like support anywhere near him. Also, definitely not like the blueprint for success, and just creates so much pressure. And it's pretty thankless for him. Sort of reminds me back of like, back we had Tommy Elliott basically, and like we used to launch the ball at him when it was very clear like he's not really equipped to just be a lone.
Don't call him lazy. Don't you dare call him lazy.
Well, Jesus, yeah. But he wasn't, was he? It was like, there's this weird thing in football, I think, where if a player is 6 foot tall or higher, it's like an assumption he must be a target man. Just like you are a target man because you're tall. It's so clearly not the case with Apre. So I felt a bit sorry for him. He looked a lot better and a lot more effective once Lavery came on. Still not a good afternoon for him. But again, like, say that Apre is a bit of a microcosm of the whole team yesterday. Is like, look, he's got credit in the bank. Like, not dropping him after Oldham. He did really well there. The team has done really well the last few weeks. I'm going to keep hammering it home. So I don't want anyone sending us comments after this pod saying we're too negative. Look, everyone's happy with the run. Everyone's happy with the form that we're in. One game, is just a game. We just need to respond really well on Tuesday, both in terms of ideally result, but definitely performance. Like, even if we go Crawley and you get a spirited point and it's like a good attacking performance, but we just can't quite make it work. Like, you can get on board with that. You just need the levels to be a bit higher, basically.
Tom, how's it feel talking about a defeat? Had you forgotten how it feels and what to say about a defeat?
Surely it's like muscle memory, mate, after the last 5 years.
Let me put it another way. Is this a type of game and performance that we could maybe look too much into or over and overanalyze, or are we right to be cynical about what we saw on Saturday?
I don't know if I've been cynical at all, really. I think it'd be so weird if we weren't like feeling very, very disappointed and quite a short change with what we'd seen, having been beaten by, let's face it, a pretty poor side.
The worst in the Football League, some might say.
Yeah, like there definitely is a possibility to overthink this. I think probably a bit too much, really. In the same way that, you know, when we're blasting Oldham away 3-0, there's definitely a possibility to overthink that as well in a positive sense. I suppose, yeah, you're right. Like, talking about a loss, it is like muscle memory after the last 3 or 4 years. What it is easy to forget, though, is that League Two is just a bit of a batshit division. Like, it just happens, and that's why it's always so tight. It's just because it feels like no one can really like properly take control of the division at any point, because just when you think things are going well, something like this is just around the corner, and that probably is going to be the way that it's going to be for the rest of the season. So strap in for that. There will definitely be another Harrogate away at some point, and that doesn't mean that we won't finish in the top three. That's just how it works. Like, if you look back to, you know, the year that we actually did get promoted, obviously we went and lost to Harrogate as well documented, but even like, if you look even just like the second half of that season, there's plenty of games where you look at it now in hindsight, you're like, oh, that's an absolute stinker. I think Scunthorpe came to the Abbey, who were bottom and won in that game. Like, it does happen. So, like, as disappointed, as frustrated as I am with the way that we've just not shown up in a game which, you know, even just for like the away support alone, deserved a lot more. Like, Caspell was right. Like, it's just like, I'm glad we put a game on Tuesday. I think, which I suppose is always the way when you're doing well and you're riding high, you just want to put it right as quickly as possible. But yeah, I think we if we can go and get a result at Crawley on Tuesday night, you do kind of tend to forget this quite quickly. I think it's not like I think Notts County away earlier in the season and probably Shrewsbury away were like so bad that you can really read into it and you go like, cool, there actually might be some deeper issues here that we actually really need to sort out if we're going to, you know, achieve what we want to achieve this season. This is more just like, although I think there have been a couple little warning signs, like we obviously weren't good against Shrewsbury. There's been one or two others in there where we've maybe not been our best, but maybe have got a result in the end. Like Tranmere, obviously, you know, a bit of a warning sign, even if we go on to win the game. Hopefully it's just a bit of a blip and we'll have to go again. But yeah, just one of them days at the office, I think.
Feels like a good time to talk about Tuesday night and Crawley Town away. At the time of recording, we don't have a fan interview. So unless that changes, one might drop in here right now. But failing that, welcome back. Yeah, Caspell, are you sticking out for the rest of this pod? You weren't sure if you're going to hang around for the Crawley preview. Do you want to stay and talk to us about how important it is that Ryan Loft can't play against us? I think he's also injured. Is that going to be a big influence on Tuesday night?
Sorry, mate. It's my parenting getting in the way of the pod. I got my priorities all wrong, haven't I? What the hell is going on? Crawley, God, absolute shithole, isn't it? Do we have to go? Yeah, we got to go. Thank God Lofty's not playing. That's all I can say. Because actually, I mean, all jokes aside, do you imagine if somehow he was? Because it would just be. It just feels like there's weird stuff going on right for us right now. I mean, if you'd have asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago, is the Crawley game going to be like one of the most important games of this half of the season? I probably would have said no, but now it's sort of weirdly coming off the loss. Now it does feel like quite an important game.
It's why would you say it's so important? Just to see how they react, and
just the reaction thing, right? It's you know, there's a few questions that are coming out Saturday, like what's Harris going to do with it? Frankly, I'm interested to know, to understand it. You know, rightly or wrongly, the criticisms that he carried here from former clubs are that, you know, he has a plan A and he sticks to it, and he can be quite hard-headed with that. So there's a chance that we see that on Tuesday potentially, and, you know, the lineup is fairly unchanged, or the system is fairly unchanged.
Well, he didn't change the lineup at all, did he? The last time we did a Saturday Tuesday, which was quite recent, was it Shrewsbury we beat on the Tuesday?
That is correct. I think
Trying to
there were
remember
no
all that. Yeah,
changes. Yeah, I think
the
you're
lineup
right.
was the exact same, and I get it.
Because
Sometimes it's because you don't have much time and you don't have time on the grass and at the training pitches. You don't have much to sort of time to think about it and practice new things or whatever. But surely, off the back of what we saw on Saturday, there's going to be some change. Do you think he'll go back to the wing backs, Tom? Would you
I
want him
think
to?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
hope so.
I'd be.
Well,
Go on.
well, I was going to say the other argument is he sticks with the 4-2-3-1, but you now have Corey Smith, I believe, available to start. Would you consider sticking with the formation, but maybe changing the personnel?
Look, I'm not really that. I'm not really sure the formation is the key thing. To be honest, I just think there's certain parts of that pitch where I think he has to make the right decision. Like the obvious one is centre mid. I think if we play with three at the back, four at the back, I'm not really sure it matters if the centre mid is, central midfield is as sloppy and as sort of off the pace it was on Saturday. Well, we'll get beat at Crawley. I think if basically if it's the same pair in centre mid, I'd be maybe not wholly confident of that, but I'd say we'll make it a lot more difficult for ourselves if that is the case. I'd be surprised if Raggett doesn't come in. To be honest, I feel like if you've just come off the back of a game like Harrogate, you probably want a leader in there, someone with real experience. And I think if that is going to be the case, then probably we will go to three at the back. Just because I don't really see him dropping Watts or Job off the back of Saturday. So I think probably Raggett will come in and play, well, I guess in between them, I suppose, rather than alongside. And yeah, I think the only other question marks for me really are like, well, I suppose it's quite a big question mark. If we go with, if I'm right, and I'm assuming that we will go to three at the back, it's like, what does the front bit of the pitch look like? I think that's an interesting question. I'd be interested to see how he sort of goes about that. I would be quite disappointed if we see just Apparage playing up front on his own again, to be honest, because I know Caveat obviously gets his goals at Oldham, plays really well there in the second half particularly, but even throughout this run of games, too frequently it has not stuck up front with just Apparage on his own. I don't expect that's going to just magically change anytime soon. So I think Nevitt brings presence. I'd probably say that. But then like Lavery, I think at this point, I mean, obviously his impact off the bench has been decent. I think more recently than maybe it had been in a few sort of games around the Christmas period, but you kind of want your best goal scorer to be on the pitch, I think, as much as is possible. So if it's going to be basically one striker or two, if it's one, don't want to see it be Apparay. If it's two, would quite like to see Lavery being at least one. Well, obviously one of those. That's a question of who do you drop, Kai or Knight, I suppose, if you're going to have another striker. And you'd have to say on recent form, it would be madness to drop Ben Knight. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'd want it to look, I think. I'm not really sure what he will actually do, to be honest. I will say that I think we've not lost back-to-back games in the league this season at all. I think we lost back-to-back games once, and there was a trophy game followed by, I think it might be Notts County away. And that's the last time. Like, we have typically responded pretty well to losses. So I don't want to read too much into the personnel beyond if it's the same centre mid pairing, because I think we've seen time and time again that that's just not worked. But there has to be a reaction from individuals as well. Like, it's not just Neil Harris. There's a lot of players that played a long way short of what they're capable of on Saturday, and on Tuesday it just has to be better.
Obviously, we're recording this Sunday night, so we don't know the full squad picture. We haven't seen the Neil Harris Monday presser, so we don't know who didn't come through Saturday, who might have picked up a knock or anything like that. So always hard to discuss lineups, Caspell. But if everyone is available, what's your thinking in terms of where you might look to line up on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, I think Walker's got it pretty spot on, to be honest, in terms of sentiment. I just don't want to have that eyebrow raising sharp intake of breath moment at 6:30 when the team sheet comes out. I'm just very keen to avoid that sort of sense of dread. Well, dread is too strong, but you know what I mean? That sort of sinking feeling of seeing that, not enough change made. So I'm not sure there's almost anyone from Saturday who could complain at being rotated out. So, we've mentioned a few individuals, but frankly, no one was at the level required on Saturday. I think the only person who comes out that well is probably Jake Eastwood, because he made the saves he had to make well, and he couldn't stop either 2 goals, not expecting him to. I think Tom's probably right. I think we might see Raggett. I definitely felt like in the second half on Saturday, we were missing Morrison for the first time in quite a while, and it's the leadership we were missing, maybe more so than the actual, the requirement to need a centre back, particularly in that second half. I think we just didn't look like anyone was really like spurring them on, whipping anyone up to do something. I've really felt like we were missing that feeling of leadership on the pitch in that moment. So yeah, I could see Raggett. I could see back to win backs. To be honest, maybe this is more hope than expectation. I think I agree with Tom as well in terms of centre. I'm not sure that Apare could necessarily start after that performance. So I think you might see Nevitt. I think the other thing that really stood out from Saturday, and obviously like Ben Knight has been superb. He's player of the month, right, for January, I think. He's been absolutely terrific. Kai as well has been really good, but both of them just looked a bit tired, maybe a little bit leggy on Saturday. And this run now, we've got, Saturday, Tuesday is pretty punishing. There just wasn't anyone obvious on the bench to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know we're waiting on Adam Mayer to come back fit. I'm really looking forward to that. He's gonna be like a new signing, CUFC as well. But you've been looking at that bench and you're thinking, God, you'd love to be able to bring some kind of attacking, creative player on. We just didn't.
Well, those two names are
right?
names are like what, late February, early March. So it's a little way off.
Yeah.
Unless the news is better than what I've just said, and then maybe they're going to be back earlier. But Tom sort of alluded to it earlier in the pod. It just makes the whole not getting another attacking option in the last few days of the window crazy. On Saturday it's like, well, where's the wide option or a bit of pace off the bench?
You want to bring a winger on, basically. Looking at the bench, you think, I just don't actually have the personnel. And yeah, it makes me nervous because I just worry for Tuesday a little bit. He's a natural football fan condition anyway. Just generally apprehensive, but you just worry about how that game could go in general, to be honest. So I really hope this sense of fear just gets quashed and we go there and we put in a good performance. And we need to underline these credentials. We've earned the right in the last couple of months to talk about us being not even playoff contender but promotion contenders. Not something I was expecting from us this season. I just hope they just kind of demonstrate. Let's hope we show it on Tuesday and we can. You look at that 5-4 against Harrogate from the promotion season, it's just become a bit of a laugh now. It's like a punchline, isn't it? It's a bit of a scar on the fan base. I'm really hoping the way we respond on Tuesday and the rest of the season, I hope there's a moment we can laugh about losing at Harrogate again and it not being, materially impactful on our season, basically.
Are we going to do it, gents? Are we going to get the right reaction? How do you see Tuesday night panning out and score predictions?
You go first, Walker.
It's just so hard after having witnessed what we witnessed on Saturday to be like, yeah, we'll probably be fine. We'll probably go and win.
I know.
It just feels so far away. I think, look, we've not lost back-to-back games in the league all season. I think we should have enough about us to go and get a result at Crawley, whatever that looks like. I think I think we might see a bit of a back to basics sort of approach, which I think might not be what everyone might want. They might want to see more from us in an attacking sense, but I think that basically I think we might see like a sort of Salford away sort of style performance where you go there, you're very resolute defensively and you just grind out 0-0. It would be probably quite dull, but I'm not sure I'll be against that. So I think we'll draw the game.
Caspell, I think I'm right in saying that this is a game in hand for us. I think there's only a couple of games Tuesday, a couple of games Wednesday. It's not a full set of fixtures midweek. So a chance to crawl ourselves back up the table. Big 3 points. Are we going to do it? and score prediction?
God, I'm going to get so many pelters for this, I think. I just can't. Maybe it's just too recent. It just feels too recent. Saturday, it was just so painful to watch. I've just got a weird feeling that Harrogate is going to be the start of a little wobble that we're going to have. We're going to put it right, and everything's going to be fine. So long term, I think we'll be fine. But I've got a weird feeling we'll go and lose like 2-0, and it's going to be uncomfortable viewing. And there's going to be idiots in the way and booing and stuff like that, which is it's going to be so like wrong, if you know what I mean. I've just got a weird fit. And then Saturday,
and photos of cars in the air with their wheels coming off are going to be posted on socials.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a gut feel more than anything. Tom's completely right. Like there's a whole rational side of things. Like, you know, let's again swindle manifest. What would swindle do?
Well, you're just playing it cool because the last time you did a negative prediction, it panned out really well for us.
Really well, for months. So yeah,
everyone. Caspell was saying we're going to lose 2-0 with a massive smile on his face. He knows what he's doing.
You know me too well.
Kick on.
I don't know. I've just got a weird feeling. I hope I'm wrong. I'd sort of weirdly feel like if the team news lands and it's like Nevitt, Lavery. Do you know what I mean? And there's like 4-4-2, like Kouassi, Mayer, Gary Gardner. No, I just got a weird feeling. I don't know what I'm basing this on, but I feel like if it's Nevitt, Lavery, we'll win the game. If it's a complete change around and we don't have 2 up top and Lavery's like gets a start, because I thought he looked quite lively on Saturday without having really big impact. And I think that would be enough. I've just got a weird feeling we're going to be quite similar in setup, and it's not necessarily going to work. But I don't know. There's always head and heart, isn't it? So heart at the moment is saying, I don't know. I just feel nervous, basically.
I think he's going to go wild, and he's going to respond to losing.
I hope you're right. I think that's what it
to losing by bringing in like Nascimento,
it's like 5
Corey Smith,
if it's like 5 changes, then I think weirdly it will be total like a refresh, and we'll go and win the game, and it'll be like, right, Harris is a genius. He's solved it. That's what I want.
Gents, considering we hadn't lost for 14 games, you both knew how to talk about a defeat on a pod really, really well. So I tip my hat to you. I thank you for your time. I thank everyone for listening. As always, reminder, if you want extra UTAS content, we have the coconut tier, £5 a month, gets you loads of extra stuff, pods and written articles and all sorts. Go to undertheabbeystand.com for more information. Thank you, as always, to the Old Spring, our sponsors this year. Caspell, bang on 7:10, mate. Off you go. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Save me some alimony or something. I don't know.
Tom, I'm sorry the record started an hour earlier than you were thinking. I hope it's been a good hour for you.
Because he wants me on BST, that's why. He's desperate for BST.
And if it's been a bad hour, just go to bed or something.
It's not the worst hour I've had this weekend. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Goodbye, everyone.